Today is Monday, March the 16th. Tomorrow is St. Patrick's Day. I suggest that you don't go out to the pub and drink green beer. Advancers and decliners. Were there any advancers today? Looks like it was roughly 10 to 1, 9 to 1 in favor of the decliners. That's going to be interesting for our summation index. However, the McClellan oscillator, which works on averages of 5% and 10%, and the difference between those two lines did not go down all that much. So that's why we need to look at the summation index, which is now down at minus 1665. But is that down low enough? Remember, on the weekend we looked at this chart. We looked at the summation index, which is now getting down into the region that we did in December of 2018. But if you go all the way back to March of 2009, before we started the complete reversal of the 2007-2008 crash, but look at the distance of this crash from 13.7, let's say, down to 666. 655. So it's about cut in half. What have we got here? We started at roughly 30,000 and now we're down at 21,000. So not half. There's more to come, but we're looking for this type of an exhaustion point in the summation index and possibly even a retest of that summation value. So we still have more to go downwards, and our charts are going to confirm that. Now, I had trouble today with motive wave connecting with TD Ameritrade, and the problem was with TD Ameritrade because when I switched to getting my data from Google, I didn't have any problem. So this is motive wave connecting to TD Ameritrade, and I just refreshed all the numbers, and I hope that it's working. But let's take a look at the S&P 500 now on a weekly basis. Look at where we're seeing the previous drop went as low as here. So this is the 2018 drop. The lowest close was right here, and we've surpassed that one now. So we've gone a little bit below that lower close. So where is the next line of support? It looks like if you were to draw a line in the sand, it looks like it could even be down here at 21.27, 21.30. So we've got more to go, that's for sure. We've lost the 50, we've lost the 200, and we've lost, all of our moving averages. Apple, huge down day, just terrible. And if we look at the SMIs, they are both oversold. Well, no kidding. Apple is definitely oversold and really is bargain territory. But since it's lost the 200, it could very well be looking at this area of support. And we might even move it down to something like this, which would be below 230. Can you imagine? And then the next area of support looks like it could be right here, below 220, so around 215. Hey, it can happen. Apple closed all of their stores. The only thing they've got open now is China and iTunes, movies, and the App Store. And of course, I guess they're still selling online. So if you want to buy an iPad or an iPhone, I'm sure you can still buy it online. Caterpillar, 93. And look at where we are, pretty much at this first level of support. But we took a bounce off of that. So now that's 3 days of bouncing off of this over 90. So that could be good. The SMIs, of course, are oversold. Someone told me to look at Coca-Cola because if you're looking at dividend stocks, a lot of these companies are going to have problems paying their dividend. Look at their dividends, take FinViz, and look at what percentage of their earnings they're paying out in dividends. Some of them are paying 75% of their earnings in dividends. So you've got to think that that could be a bit of a problem, especially if the earnings come down. They're not going to pay it all out in dividends. So when we look at Caterpillar, let's look at Coca-Cola, sorry. Look at Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola now has a dividend of, I can't get it. So let me go to FinViz then, and let's look at, I'm going to show you how to do this. Let's go to Coca-Cola. So let's do a ticker rather. Let's look at Coca-Cola, and Coca-Cola's current price to earnings is 21.89. That's still pretty high. Their dividend is $3.64. Their payout ratio is what we want to find, and doesn't look like it's here. So you could go to a site like Dividend Investor. That is a really good site to double check on dividends. And let's take a look at Coca-Cola, and let's take a look at Caterpillar. So Coca-Cola, here's the three numbers you want to look at. You want to look at the dividend rate is 3.27%. Sorry, it's currently 3.4%. The dividend payout ratio is 78%. So they are paying out 78% of their profits in dividends. That could be an issue. But they have been paying dividends for 57 years, which means through the 2008 crash, they continued to pay dividends. And they didn't, well, they may have cut, no, they did not cut their dividends because this is dividend increases. Caterpillar, sorry, that's wrong place. Here we go, Caterpillar. Caterpillar is starting to get a very, very attractive dividend right now. It's still not the time to buy, but gosh, 90 is a really attractive price. Latest close was 99, so there was a bounce, I guess, after the close. The dividend is 4%. Their payout ratio is only 37%. That is tremendous. And they have been paying out for 6 years, so they did pull back in 2007, 2008. And finally, let's look at AT&T, because you would think that company that relies on cell phone bills shouldn't have any problem with all of this. The dividend is now over 6%, but their payout ratio is 108%. They've had consecutive dividend increases for 15 years, so that means that they've gone through 2008 without a dividend cut. But they're paying all of their profits out in dividends, so that's a bit of a concern. Let's go back now and just finish off on the charts. AT&T down to 31.64. Let's go to the weekly chart and look and see if we're at an area for support. This certainly looks like a support line, so we've got more to drop here. Here's another support line for sure, because you've got here, 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 all of this area here, here, and we just nicked above that today, so that's important. Let's take our alert and put it down there. And finally, Whirlpool. Let's look at the weekly for Whirlpool. And we've got support would be here. Well, we're below that already. You might say that support could be right in here as well. And look at where we got our bounce today, off of one of those support lines. So tomorrow could see a bit of a rally back. Let's take a look. Last thing now, let's just take a look at the ES, the futures. And after the market closed, right here, the market did come back a little bit, and the futures are moving up, but still below the prior regular trading hours lows and below the Globex low. So it was a terrible day. Very bad day. Let's look at what happens in the morning. Good opportunity for a slight bounce. We're going to take a look if we have a bounce, maybe we've got a bounce for a couple of days, but what we want to see is the summation index come down and hit this 2000, which has been support here, 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 but of course it went even further before it turned around in 2009. So this is the one we're going to be looking at.